Hi boys and girls. This video is going to talk to you about how to compare and order decimals. Remember, the number one thing that I told you when we have these types of questions, even if you think you can do it in your head, is that I still want you to take your numbers and write them up and down so that you can line up the place values. While you're watching this video, remember you can pause, do the problem yourself, and then come back and watch me explain it. When you're done, it'll give you some practice problems to try on your own. For this first set of questions, the directions tell you to use the greater than, less than, or equal to symbols to compare each set of numbers. So whatever symbol you're choosing should go inside that circle. The first set of numbers, we have 37 and 3/10, and we have 38. So when we line up our numbers up and down, because I know you're going to do that, because you should, even if you think you know the answer, I'm going to take my 37 and 3/10. My 38 has, it's a whole number, so we don't see the decimal the way that it's written right here, but we know that every number has a decimal even if it's not shown. If it's a whole number, we know that the decimal is going to go at the very end of the number, or after the tens place, or after the ones place. So my 38, when it lines up with my 37 and 3/10, should line up with the ones place matching and the tens place matching. We're going to add our decimal. We're going to add a 0 so that they have the same number of digits. So now each one has 3 digits. We're going to start comparing all the way on the left in the largest place value. We have a 3 and a 3 in the tens place, so that doesn't really help us. In the ones place, though, we have an 8 and the 7. So since the 8 is larger than our 7, that automatically tells us that our 38 is larger. So when we fill this one in, we're going to use the less than symbol to show that 37.3 is less than 38. For our next one, we have 4 and 3/10 and 4 and 28/100. So when we line this one up, we're going to line up our decimals. So we have 4 and 3/10. Underneath we have 4 and 29/100. So we have this open space here. We don't have something in this hundredths place value. So we're going to fill that with a 0 to help us compare with the same number of digits. We're going to start all the way on the left. So in the ones place, we have a 4 in both numbers. In the tenths place, we have a 3 and a 2. So since this is the first place value moving from the left that we have numbers that are different, this is the only place value we need to look at. My 3 is larger than my 2, so that makes this number our bigger number. Okay, it doesn't matter that we have a 0 and a 9 in the hundredths place, because the tens place, your digits are going to be worth more in value. So this is going to be our larger number. So when we move and we put our answer in here, we're going to use the greater than symbol to show that 4 and 3/10 is greater than 4 and 29/100. Our last one is 830 and 92 and 8/10. So when we write this one, remember that your 830, even though the decimal isn't shown, anytime we have a whole number, the decimal automatically goes at the very end of the number next to the ones place. So we have to be careful when we line up our numbers for 92 and 8/10. The 9 is in the tens place, so it needs to line up with the 3 that's also in the tens place. So now we have 92 and 8/10. This might look a little bit funny to you because you want your numbers to line up and you feel like it's a little bit off, that they're not even. So to even it out, we're going to add a 0 in the hundreds place and a 0 in the tens place. So now they have the same number of digits. When we start in our largest place value, which is the hundreds place, we have an 8 and a 0, so we can easily tell that 830 is going to be our larger number. So we're going to put our greater than symbol to show that 830 is larger than 92 and 8/10. Okay, I'm going to erase. Okay, another type of question that you might get asks you to put the numbers that they give you in order. In this case, they specifically want you to put them in order from least to greatest. So we're going to take these 3 numbers, we're going to line them up and down, because that's what we do every single time. And then we're going to list them in order from least to greatest. We have to be careful here that we don't accidentally flip the order and do it from greatest to least. First thing I'm going to do is line up my numbers. I have 438. I know anytime I have a whole number that the decimal goes at the end. So that will help me line up my other digits for my other number. I have 44 and 1/10. My decimal is going to line up exactly with the decimal from 438. So my 4 and my 4 go in the tens and the ones place, and the 1 goes in the tenths place. And then I have 45, which also is a whole number, so we know the decimal is all the way at the end of the number, right after the ones place. So my 45 should line up here, my decimal right after it. I have lots of open spaces that don't have digits, so I'm going to fill all of those with the zeros, so it'll be easy for me to compare now that they all have the same number of digits. When I start on the left-hand side, I have a 4 in the hundreds place that tells me that this number is the largest because I'm comparing it against two zeros. So I automatically know that this is my largest number, 438. So since I have to put my numbers in order from least to greatest, I'm going to take 438 and put it all the way at this side because I know that that's where my greatest number is going to go. Now that I've used that number and I know where it goes in my order, I'm going to cross it off here so I don't accidentally look at it and compare and think that it's bigger again. Now I'm going to move on to my last two numbers. They both had zeros in the hundreds place, so that doesn't help me. When I bump over to the tens place, they both have 4s, so that doesn't help me. Then I move over to the ones place and I have a 4 and a 5. So I no longer care what else is to the right of it because this is the largest place value that they have different digits. The 4 tells me that this number is going to be smaller than this number, so my 44 and 1/10 is my smallest number, and then my 45 is after it. So my 44 and 1/10, when I put it in order, goes all the way at the beginning because it's least to greatest. And then my 45 should be in the middle. I'm going to put commas to separate them, and this would be my order from least to greatest. Okay, we're going to do one more like that one, similar. Only this time, similar idea, only they give you numbers and they want you to order it from greatest to least. So we have 92. And remember, you can pause your video if you want to try this one by yourself. We have 92, which we know is a whole number, so the decimal is right after it. That's going to help us line up our other numbers. Then we have 9 and 87 hundredths. So the 9 is in the ones place. It should go underneath the 2. 87 hundredths should go right after. Then we have 91 and 8/10. So my 91 should line up in the tens in the ones place. And my 8/10 should be in the tenths place. We have lots of open spaces to show that we can put place value holder zeros there. So now all of my numbers have the same number of digits. I'm going to start all the way on the left. I have a 9, a 0, and a 9 in the tens place. So the 9 and the 9 are the same, so I don't really know which one's larger there, but I know that the 0 makes this number the smallest. So in our order, they want it from greatest to least. So if I know that 9 and 87 hundredths is my smallest number, I'm going to write it all the way on the right-hand side because I know it'll end up being the least number that I have. I'm going to cross it off so I don't use it again. Now I'm going to compare my top and bottom number. They both had 9s in the tens place, which is the same. Then there's a 2 in the ones place and a 1 in the ones place. So this makes 92 my largest number. Even though it has a 0 and a 0 after it, and there's an 8 down here, it doesn't matter because the 2 is in a larger place value than either of those zeros. So that makes 92 my largest number. So it's going to go on the greatest end of our scale. And 91 and 8/10, or 80 hundredths, is going to go in the middle. I'm going to put commas to separate them so I can see they're different. And then this is going to be my order from greatest to least.